the coming war will not be fought with bullets and missiles, but will be fought on a monetary battlefield, and the Chinese hold the nuclear option.
This is Dunnigan Kaiser, founder of Liberty and Finance. I'm now a licensed gold and silver broker for Miles Franklin. Call me directly for the physical gold and silver that you need at the best price with personalized private service from one of the oldest and best companies in the business. For fastest service, just call 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 888-81-LIBERTY. And either I or one of my sons and fellow brokers will call you back as soon as we can and understand your needs. Welcome back to Liberty and Finance. We have Andy Schectman, the CEO of Miles Franklin Precious Metals, with us this Tuesday, June 15th, 2021, for a weekly market update. Andy, thanks for coming back on.
Great to be here with you, Dunnigan. If my math is correct, we're pretty darn close to halfway through the year. How'd that happen so fast?
It's getting really close, and people are holding their breath for upcoming delivery months on the COMEX and how things are going to shake out there. We've got the Basel III Accord agreements, net stable funds ratio coming up on certain banks at the end of this month, and people are wondering how that's going to impact things. We had to go all audio today with you because you're out of your normal office environment and out in the field. Some people, I know when we interview David Morgan, he's out there visiting mines, and you're out there visiting vaults. So you're out of the office, but we got you by phone, and grateful for your visiting with us here today.
Oh, I'm very appreciative of you being so accommodating, and sometimes things just pop up and not able to do things via Zoom video, but always eager to chat with you. I think it's important, and it's something I look forward to every week. So thanks for that as well.
Before we hit kind of like the weekly context here, we wanted to get a series of questions really closely grouped and related that keep coming up actually more and more often from clients, and that is surrounding privacy and reporting. I feel about 50% of the clients these days are asking about what limit on their payment or limit on the number of coins, the amount of that they can order when they buy or when they sell, to maintain their privacy, and just to be aware of what the rules and regulations, what the guidelines are, the guide rails from officialdom about mandated reporting. I think there's a lot of confusion and there's a lot of misinformation out there. So if we could walk through it in kind of three major topics. First is payment reporting. The second is purchase size reporting. And the other is selling back to us. When clients have metals that they want to sell back to us as a dealer, what levels would trigger any kind of reporting there? So can we walk through those one at a time very quickly? First being types of reporting related to payments, because this is something that comes up very frequently. I'll get a client saying, now I don't want to order more than, some people say $1,000 or $1,500 or $5,000 or $10,000. Everybody's got a certain number that they've been told that if you buy more than that, there's going to be reporting about your purchase and you're going to lose your privacy. Could you please demystify the reporting requirements related to the payment on an order?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a good question, and everyone wants to accentuate their privacy legally. And one of the things that we'll always try to do is show you what the line in the sand is, show you how to get all the way up to the line, look over, but don't step over. As it pertains to purchasing, if you buy anything in the precious metals universe and pay with a check, wire, or an ACH, there's never any reporting at all whatsoever. The reporting requirements, the Form 8300, deal with any retail investment or purchase, rather, not just precious metals. If someone went into Nordstrom's and spent over $10,000 on a wardrobe in cash, a Form 8300 would be filled out. If someone went and bought a new automobile or a motorcycle with over $10,000 in cash, a Form 8300 would be filled out, and the same thing would apply with precious metals. The Form 8300 is a form that wants to know basically how did you get so much cash, and your social security numbers are tied to it, as is the number of bills that would have been used, the denomination of the bills. For people that have enough wherewithal to justify a large stash of cash, they probably don't have much to worry about it. But here again, it's Big Brother keeping their thumb on people attempting to not pay taxes. And well, if you don't have a W-2 that justifies having that kind of cash, where did you get it? Is basically what that form is asking. And so as it pertains to purchasing precious metals, however, if someone were to pay with a check or a wire, they could spend $100 million and there's no reporting, period, ever, when purchasing.
So just to clarify, the only limit we're talking about on it affects reporting on payments is a $10,000 limit. It has nothing to do with the precious metals themselves. It just has to do with a cash or cash equivalent form of payment. So specifically $10,000 or more. In our case, since we don't accept cash as a form of payment directly, it would be either money orders in any combination, adding up to $10,000 or more on a single purchase, or Bitcoin now proposed by the Biden administration. Is that correct? Is there any other forms of payment we accept that would be subject to that $10,000 reporting limitation?
That is it. And, I'm going to ask you a question because I know you did a little research. Has that proposal on Bitcoin been ratified? Has it been approved? I read what you said. I see where they're talking about it. I guess my only question is, has it been approved? One of the problems with a tax code like we have that is so ever changing and dynamic and expansive is that, you need to completely be paying attention constantly for these updates. And this is one of them. No one's ever said anything to us in terms of ICTA or anyone in the industry have posted, yes, this is the case right now. Are you aware, has this been ratified by the administration?
I have to say I'm not an expert on it. I looked into it briefly about a week and a half ago, and at that point it said it was a proposal from the Biden administration that they were going to want to consider any entity, any company that receives crypto assets in payment to be considered a cash alternative and therefore be subject to the same $10,000 cash reporting 8300 form. So that gets into 2 points. One is that it was still just a proposal. Secondly, that it's for companies that receive crypto assets. As I understand it, ILS Franklin only takes Bitcoin, but not directly, but through the BitPay platform or application. So we actually get paid out. We get paid out by BitPay in US dollars. So, but anyway, the nutshell is that the $10,000 cash reporting Form 8300 only applies to cash payments or money orders, and in this case, proposed Bitcoin going forward. Sounds like that hasn't been officially released yet or announced yet.
I do believe that to be correct, and I think that would be BitPay's responsibility to collect that. So I do believe you are right. And yeah, so whether it be cash or multiple money orders, really in our universe at this point anyway, would be the only things that we are concerned about regarding reporting. So people who are concerned about privacy and reporting, I would argue that it is more a red flag to structure transactions to get right up to $10,000 and do repetitive transactions than it would be to just make a transaction which is completely and totally legal. And that's where your reporting requirements end. Remember that the get to know your client situation with precious metals is so vastly different than it is with any other asset class, where any application that you ever fill out to open up a bank account, a brokerage account, an insurance policy, financial advisory, anything, you're dealing with, a plethora of paperwork and questions that get into net worth, investment experience, employment history, all of that kind of stuff, social security number. We still offer, in many ways, old school privacy to the extent that the law allows us. And we are constantly trying to help our clients achieve maximum amount of privacy in a world where that is decreasing, and in some cases exponentially. So there still is the ability to have a little bit of privacy and do so knowing that you've done everything according to the letter of the law.
Yeah, that's one of the emphases that we've made on our channel over the years. We've interviewed the editor of the Privacy Journal, which is the oldest United States journal on privacy, and others, because that is a protection that's, addressed specifically in the Bill of Rights and in our Constitution. It's something that an individual possesses by their own natural rights, and it's not something that have to be granted. It's something that we own. It's ours, and there should be only very specific reasons that justify it being taken away, but not just given away on a blanket purpose. So that's why we try to uphold everyone's privacy. So that's for payments. Purchases, I think you already touched on this in passing. No reporting, if I'm correct, on any purchases themselves, no matter what product, no matter what metal, no matter what form, no matter what quantity. We don't have to report purchases.
That is correct, as long as they are not paying with cash or cash instruments, a check, a wire, or an ACH. Yep, that is no reporting.
People who think that they need to limit to certain quantities of certain products when they purchase, not true, if they want privacy. And then the last one is when they sell back. When anybody wants to sell back as what we call a buyback, that's where there is a different kind of mandated reporting only for certain products and categories called 1099B. So can you talk to us briefly about that and where people can find out more information?
For the 1099 reporting on gold, it would center around 4 items. It would center around gold Krugerrands, gold Mexican 50 pesos, and gold maple leaves. And for those 3 items, it would be on the 25th ounce in one transaction. With gold bars, it's actually a few ounces more. It's gold, it's ounces that add up cumulatively to 1 kilo. So I guess in theory, you could sell up to 31 or even 32 1-ounce gold bars, 24 of the Krugerrand, the maple leaf, and the Mexican peso. Anything over that in one transaction would trigger 1099. Anything up to those levels in individual, non-related transactions will never trigger any reporting. In silver, same thing. In this case, however, it's on the 1,000th ounce, and that would be in bar form or in generic round form. So any of the legal tender coins, the Eagle, the Maple, Philharmonic, Britannia, Kangaroo, even the Krugerrand. It's interesting, the Krugerrand and the Maple Leaf, in this case, in the silver realm, there's no reporting on any of them. It's only on the 1,000th ounce in bar or round form or $1,000 face value in pre-65 U.S. constitutional silver. So someone wanted maximum privacy and they had nothing but 100-ounce bars, they would sell 900 of them, 9 bars, and do that on a repetitive basis. Again, being diligent enough to not be overt about structuring, but knowing what the letter of the law is and doing just that. Same thing with junk silver. Pre-65, sell 900 face, sell 750 face, sell 999 face if you really wanted to. Point of it is that when we breach 1,000 face or 1,000 ounces in one transaction, and those 3 items and only those 3 items, then there would be reporting. Now, it's interesting. The Morgan and Peace silver dollars, which are, very cut from the same cloth as the dimes and the quarters, carry no reporting. So there is a group called ICTA, the Industry Council for Tangible Assets, and they're somewhat of a liaison between the industry and the IRS. These were all deals that were struck between the IRS and ICTA, and it is, for all intent and purposes, marching orders for everyone in the industry to abide by. So as long as those levels are never breached on one transaction, in effect, and again, there is never any reporting whatsoever.
Okay, so just to clarify, on the payments, it's $10,000 limit in cash equivalent, which for us would be money orders or Bitcoin payments in the future through BitPay, but any other payments are non-reported. Purchases, because of what you're buying, there's never any reporting. And then in terms of sellbacks or buybacks, when you're selling metal back to a dealer, then one of the things is those specific metals in specific quantities that can trigger the 1099B reporting, and it varies from product to product. So we'll put a link in the description of this video, folks, for if you want to look up those specific limits for the 1099B reporting on buybacks. But that's much less common currently than sales, and again, no matter what you purchase, there's no reporting on because of what you're purchasing in any quantity. Just the method of payment that can affect that. So what about taxes? There's been some clients who have been told they want to buy, for example, Eagles. I want American Eagles, and I only want American Eagles because there's no taxes on American Eagles. Is that a misunderstanding on their part?
Yes, it is. It's very much a misunderstanding. There are a lot of misunderstandings in this industry. Just like saying that Swiss 20 francs and British sovereigns, because they're pre-33, are safe from confiscation, when that's not really the case. It's pre-33 U.S. minted, and the same thing is true here. The U.S. products carry no dealer reporting requirements in any quantity, but that doesn't exempt the consumer or the individual from reporting a gain or a loss. It just means it's the honor system. Just like any of the other items that aren't in the items that we mentioned, it's the honor system. And so 100% that is not true. That is false. If you sell anything, Uncle will be there with his hand open for his share, whether it be American Eagles or, gold bars. It's irrelevant. But it's just no dealer reporting in any quantity ever on American products. But the reporting requirement is still in place for the consumer.
All right. Now, before we move on to the weekly special, did you have any quick updates for us on market conditions, supply and demand dynamics that you'd like to hit us with quickly before we move on to the weekly special?
I guess I fancy myself as I don't know, I guess I'd call myself an amateur technical analyst. And I watch technicals. I try to study them. I think in a manipulated market, the whole technical analysis thing is slightly flawed, yet to some degree, in many respects, you have to follow it. And I guess one of the things that I would just like to touch on right now is the overwhelming, pervasive belief that the dollar is going to crater. And while I ultimately believe that will happen, I think the destruction of its value through massive money printing will have ramifications that we will have to be beholden to at some point. The markers will be called in at some point. But I would like to say that the last two times the technicals have looked like this, where we approach that 90 level, where we see similar movements in terms of it being oversold, the dollar seems to rally and catch people off guard. I have seen reports that the Chinese have instructed their banks to lighten up the appreciation of the renminbi against the dollar, that it is making their acquisition of commodities more costly. And, it's not just gold and silver they're accumulating. They're accumulating tin, and they're accumulating nickel and copper and aluminum and oil, and they're buying as many things as they possibly can to build their war chest. I am convinced to my soul that the coming war will not be fought with bullets and missiles, but will be fought on a monetary battlefield. And the Chinese hold the nuclear option. They hold all the armaments. And I truly believe that they are positioning themselves to be the world power in the years and decades ahead. And they see the big picture. And I think what they're trying to do is truly acquire and corner the world supply of physical commodities and those commodities that are very strategic. And so a strong dollar is something that I think is something that benefits the Chinese. And I think that, I guess what I'm getting at here is that I've been saying on your show for the last few weeks that I expected volatility as we head to Basel III, but I also expect a counterintuitive rally in the dollar here. And I think it could happen over the next several weeks because people are expecting the opposite. Now, ultimately, I think the opposite will happen, but I don't think that it's going to be as easy as one would think. And I think we should be prepared not only for volatility in the price as banks try to deleverage themselves from these unallocated positions, but also on a bigger picture, I think that big money doesn't want to. I think that they want to keep the game in motion as long as they possibly can, because it allows them to continue to acquire commodities inexpensively. So I guess what I would tell people to do is be ready for not only volatility, but also what I think will be quick and maybe fairly sharp pullbacks in metals, which doesn't change a darn thing. In fact, the big money will be accumulating on those pullbacks. And I guess if I were to look at it from a likely scenario, I would suspect that we will see a couple more really good opportunities to pick up gold and silver at subsidized prices. And I would tell people who own it, don't be discouraged by that. This is exactly what I think the playbook would call for. In the end, this is not physical selling. This is paper selling and paper positioning for physical accumulation across the board. So I guess all I'm really saying here, Dunnigan, is that I expect the next few weeks, as we head towards the end of June, when the Basel III reserve ratio requirements go into effect for the European banks, for it to be less than easy for us precious metal bulls. But in actuality, that's a subsidy for those people who are trying to add to their position. This will be a bumpy ride over the next few weeks, but one, if you have some dry powder, if you're sitting back and watching closely, I think there'll be some great opportunities there.
All right. Can we get into our weekly special? I think you've got something extremely special for us this week that we have never had on before in this way. And it's going to be way more affordable than what other options are out there for people. So if you could let us know about that.
Yeah. So, if I had my druthers and I had my choice of any type of gold I could own, normally we talk about silver, and silver really is the value out there right now. But ultimately, I would argue you want to be in gold. I've been telling people who own silver that buying silver at a 70-to-1 ratio, or, it's been as high as 120 last March, the whole way down is a pathway into more gold, ultimately, as that ratio snaps back to not only its 150-year historic average of somewhere in the neighborhood of 45, 42-to-1, but also its natural ratio that we see right now coming out of the ground in the single digit 7 or 8-to-1. So as that ratio snaps back, being able to trade your silver into gold ultimately is what, in my mind's eye, I see not only for my clients, but for myself, playing that ratio game. With that being said, if I had my druthers, the only type of gold that I would ever own would be pre-1933 U.S. gold coins. And there have been several times over the last several years where they were unbelievably affordable. And when those times happened, I would tell my listeners, my clients, hey, this is where you need to be, not in gold bullion. There are other times where we see those premiums really get strong and take off because, there are other people out there seeing the same thing that I am in terms of its relative value to everything else. Well, this is one of those times where I think we have something special to offer based upon value and based upon relationship to gold bullion, even historical relationship. What we have is 1,600 extra fine pre-1907 $20 Liberties. These are the older of the two $20 gold pieces, commonly referred to as the double eagle. The $20 double eagle is both the Liberty, minted from 1850 to 1907, and its sister coin, which we promoted before, the St. Gaudens, which was named after Augustus St. Gaudens, a sculptor from New York. But the older coins are the ones that, to me, are maybe even more intriguing, all the way through the Civil War and up until 1907, when President Roosevelt commissioned Augustus St. Gaudens to produce a coin that he thought represented American heritage a little bit better than the $20 Liberty did. For my money, I've always preferred the $20 Liberty. It's not as pretty, but it is a true piece of Americana going all the way back to, to the beginnings of this country and to the through the Civil War and to me, it's just it's a fascinating coin, and especially in the extra fine condition that we have, which, you close your eyes, put this in the palm of your hand, and you're holding a coin that was in someone's hand or pocket over 120 years ago or more. We also have 500 of the $10 Liberties at exactly half the price. It's a better buy, actually, because if you put yourself back 100 years ago, plus $20 was a heck of a lot of money, and $10 was too in terms of its purchasing power for the turn of the century, way back when. But by the same token, it would have been used much more frequently in commerce and everyday use than a $20 gold coin would. So what we are offering today would be my two favorite gold coins, literally, that comprise a good deal of my own personal holdings, and in a condition that makes them uniquely affordable. We have the $20 Liberty in an extra fine condition, and the $10 Liberty in an extra fine condition. And as far as the price is concerned, the $20 Liberty will be spot gold plus $129, and the $10 Liberty will be spot gold plus $64.50, exactly half the price of the $20 gold coin. In an extra fine condition, Dunnigan, these coins will still be very, very nice. But really what they are, it's striking a balance, really striking a balance between gold content and the benefits that we associate with numismatics, namely much better upside potential. In 2007, 8, and 9, when I was flying all around the country, buying these coins back from people, telling them to move into bullion because the premium has gotten so high, with a $1,000 gold price, I would have paid anyone for as many as they wanted to sell over $1,400 for the circulated circulated $20 Liberty, and half that for the 10. You're talking a $400 premium over gold spot on the 20, and a $200 premium over the half-ounce $10 Liberty in 2007, 8, and 9. The premium potential on these far exceeds anything you would ever find in gold bullion, yet when you look at the price that you will pay for these, they are in line with just about all of the bullion choices you can buy, and in fact, quite a bit less expensive than the brand new Gold Eagle, which as a U.S. Mint authorized representative reseller, in my heart of hearts, I feel are too expensive. So from a standpoint of accumulation of gold, this is as good as it gets. It's a heck of a value. It's a true piece of Americana. It's priced in line with gold bullion. It offers no dealer reporting on purchase or sellback. And I think in the end will offer markedly better upside potential, especially as we continue down the pathway of a supply chain that is really becoming challenging across the board. And so I think this is as good of a choice as we've seen to offer to people in large quantities in quite some time.
Very good. Thank you, Andy, for that. And as always, thank you for joining us. Our viewers appreciate it to no end, and we just always grateful for your presence here. Thanks for taking the time out, even though you're off on a vault tour today. And thanks for joining us here again on Liberty and Finance.
The pleasure is mine, Dunnigan. I thank you for your time and your accommodation today with the way that we had to do it. And I look forward to chatting with you again next Tuesday. So have a great rest of your week.
This is Dunnigan Kaiser, founder of Liberty and Finance. I'm now a licensed gold and silver broker for Miles Franklin. Call me directly for the physical gold and silver that you need at the best price with personalized private service from one of the oldest and best companies in the business. 31 years strong, A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, 0 complaints, licensed and bonded. For physical delivery, vault storage, or precious metals IRAs, excellent prices, privacy, and confidentiality. Pay by check, money order, ACH, bank wire, or Bitcoin. Satisfaction guaranteed. For fastest service, just call 1-888-81-LIBERTY. That's 888-81-LIBERTY. And either I or one of my sons and fellow brokers will call you back as soon as we can and understand your needs.